Okay, everyone, so welcome again to one of our learning sessions. And in this session, we will be trying to solve the challenge that I gave you with regards to maximizing the use of the template that we were able to create out of the Microsoft Word resume template that we transformed into an HTML document. So now we would want to have a scrolling effect inside of our website. So from here, we will be creating this simple resume template that contains a background image, a profile picture, and some of the other content that is included inside of the website. So I'm hoping you were able to do your research, you were able to read about the ways on how to do this, and you were able to get some of the hints that I was giving you during the previous lesson or the video lesson from where I discussed the challenge. If you remember, I mentioned the term background image. So let's try to go and research if we have a background image property in HTML. So we do have a background image property. Okay, so that's the first lesson that I would want to discuss in building this simple template that we have here. So we have our CSS background image property. Now let's go and try to create another folder here that I will name Word HTML Challenge Solution. Okay, so that's where we will be placing our HTML file that will be containing our scrolling resume. Okay, so let's go and first copy this index.file HTML inside of this folder. Now let's try to go and rename it into resume.html. Now let's try to open it. Okay, so we will be doing the changes that we would want in this template. So this one, I'm going to close this already. I just wanted that to be opened up. And this is going to be our reference for the layout that we would want to implement in our template here. So let's go now and open this up in our Visual Studio Code. So let me go and open it with Visual Studio Code here. So we can see that we already have here the HTML template. We already have some stylings, and we also have some HTML elements that we have already used here for the markup. So let me just go to our header section here first. And I would want to replace this with my name. So again, it doesn't necessarily need to be the exact same thing with what I'm doing here right now, but this is just how I did it. So at least you were able to also see how I did the exercise using the template. So here I'm going to replace this with our email, rbsldevtechsolutions and at gmail.com. So I'm not going to change any of this anymore. So let me save that. Let's see how that looks on our browser. Okay, so there's the heading 1. Now let me replace this with my name. So let's go to our code editor here. Of course, we do that inside of our title tag. Rodrigo Lopez dash resume. Now let's go refresh our browser here. Okay, so there's the title now. So I just changed this to my full name here. Now if we go to our example here, we can actually make use of another table here that will be inside of our header section. So let's try to go and do that. So let me go to our code editor here, and then let's place this inside of a table, and then place this h1 inside of that table. Now if we want to go and create here some columns, we will need a table row with 2 table data cells. So if you remember, that's what we did in our previous lessons in maximizing the use of tables. So let's try to go and implement that. We have a table row that will have 2 TDs that one will be containing the H1, okay, and the other one will be containing the image that we have here. And we remember that I have a image that is found. Let me just have another. You would see I'm using 2 double dots and / here, and then the image here. Then I'm going to go get my profile picture here. So let me just go and profile picture. You would see you can also do this as a file path for an image, for you to be able to move 2 subdirectories up, because this resume.html is found in the subdirectory of the exercises subdirectory of the HTML section 5 interactive content parent directory. So let's see if this will work. Okay, let me go and refresh this. Oops, here. So there's our picture. It worked, right? Now let's go back to our code editor. I would want it to be circle. So I'm sure you're aware on how to do this. We maximize the use of the border radius property. So let's go to our CSS here. And for us to be able to do this, we will just need to go and let me have here an image selector. Give it a border radius of 50%. Let's say we want a 200 pixel height and a 200 pixel width with a border property of 2 pixels solid black. Let's save that and let's go back to our project here, and there you go. Now we can see that it's a little bit far from the top here, and here we would want it to be near the corner on the left corner. So let's try to go and apply that. So let's go to our code editor and then go to our margin here. Let's try to remove this and just go and give it a margin top of 10 pixels. Let's see how that will look on our browser, and there you go. We want to go and move it a little bit to the right here. So we know that this is the header section, and we can maximize the use of the header element so that we can move this a little bit to the right. So let's go and try to select the header class that we have here and then place it inside of our style sheet here. And I would want to go and have a margin left of 20 pixels. Let's see how that will look on our browser. Okay, so we were able to move it a little bit to the right. And I also want some space here at the bottom, as you can see here. So let's go and give it a margin bottom. Margin bottom of at least 30 pixels. Let's save that. Let's see how that will look on our browser. Okay. So let me just look at the code here. I want to go and remove this from the header section. I'm going to Control X this and place it here. and create another section here. So this is going to be an additional section. Control X here. Now what I want to do here next will be to go back to our browser and refresh it, and we can see that the HR here, I would want that to be just on top of this table. So let me go back here. Let me go and get that HR, place it on top. Let's go back to our browser here, and there you go. So we have some space here. Okay. Now what I want to do here is to go and add the description about myself and my personal motto here. So let's go and copy this. I'm just going to copy this, but you can use your own very own description about yourself. Okay. So let's go back to our code editor here, and inside of this table data cell, I want this to be inside of a paragraph, and control save. Let's see how that will look on our browser. Okay, so there you go. But I would want it to be broken down this way. So we have the Marvel geek here. I'm a very big fan of Marvel, so let's go have a break there, line break. Let's go put a line break here and here. Let's have at least 2 line breaks here. So let's see how that will look on our browser here. Okay, there you go. Now let's also have a line break here, similar to this one. So let's go back to our code editor here, and let's go put at least 2 line breaks here too. Oops, sorry. And I would want this to be inside of an EM. I want to emphasize this because this is my personal motto when it comes to learning. And I always share this to my students. Learning is a matter of finding your purpose. Find your purpose and you'll be the wisest man who ever lived. So I don't want this to be a complete line. So we have here, we can see find your purpose. Find your purpose. So let's have a line break there too. So let's go and look for that. Let's have a line break here. Then let's go back to our browser here, and there you go. It's almost the same now. Okay. Now we know that we have our table data cell here, and we would want to have a little bit of a space from the left side. So let's go back to our code editor here, and we know that we have our TD element here, and we have the top, right, bottom, left. So let's give it a value of 25 pixels on the left side. And if I go back here, and you can see now that we now have almost the same distance between the table data cell here from the other table data cell that we have here. Now I don't want the HR element that we have here to be occupying the whole space up to the sides of our screen here. So let's just give it a width of a certain percentage. And I want to increase the height of our HR here. So let's go back to our code editor here and then give it at least 4 pixels and a width of 59%. So let's see how that will look on our browser. We can see here that we were able to increase the height of the HR, and we now have decreased the width of our HR so that we will have some space for our background image here. Now we have our sections here, section 0, 1, and so on. So if we go back to our code editor here, we know that we have section 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, up to section 6. We do know that as programmers, we normally start with 0 when we are counting. So now let's go back to our style sheets here. Let's have some styling for the sections. Sections 0 to 6. And what I want to do here is to have a style for section -0. And then let's go give it a margin left of, let's say, 20 pixels. Okay, so let's have at least 20 pixels here. And try to refresh our browser. And there you go. There's some space here now on our left side. So let's go and apply that in some of the other sections. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to copy this 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then replace the numbering to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now let's save that and go back to our browser and refresh. Now the next thing that I want to do is to replace this with the objective that I have. So you can go and use your own objective. And these are just some of my tips when it comes to working with clients and when I'm applying to a company. I always think first on what I can offer the company and on how I can become an asset to the company before I ask for a big remuneration. So I just believe that think not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. Similar with when I'm applying with a company, I always ask first myself, what can I offer that company so that they will be willing enough to pay me a high salary? Okay, so I now have that inside of our document here. And of course, I want it to be inside of an EM element. So let's go and place it inside of the EM element here. Let's format the document here. And let's have some line breaks. So I would want to go and put a line break before the self-improvement here. And the word growing. So let's go and also have a line break here and here. And here. So let's go and try to save that. Okay, it's looking a lot more similar with the project that we have here. By the way, the quote that I just uttered, that came from John F. Kennedy. I just wanted to go and give him credit for the quote. So going back here, guys, we have the skills and abilities right now, and we have 2 table columns here. So let's try to go and work on how we can go and do this. But before we go and proceed to that, I would want to go and try to work on the background image property that we have here that we used for the implementation of the fixed image that I have here of myself while I'm doing a class with regards to arresting tactics. So let's go and try to read through the background image property here. So we can see here that we can set a background image for the body element. And we have an example here by using the URL value with the following format or syntax. We can even set 2 background images for the body element. Let's click on that, and here the definition and usage, it will be setting 1 or more background images for an element. By default, the background image is placed at the top left corner of an element and repeated both vertically and horizontally. So we can see here we have an image that is composed of 2 background image. We have the tree GIF and the paper GIF, as you can see here. So tip background of an element is the total size of the element, including padding and border, but not the margin. Always set a background color to be used if the image is unavailable. Okay, so now let's try to go and implement placing a background image inside of our resume here. Now let's go to our body selector here, and then let's go and select the background image that is located, oops, let's have URL, then let's have the two directories up, and then let's look for the images here and the arresting.jpg, then semicolon. Let's save that and let's try to see what will happen on our page. There you go. You will see now that we have a background image that is repeated both vertically and horizontally. As you can see here, it says here we should be setting a background color. And as we can see here, if we try to scroll down, it's vertically and horizontally. So we have a horizontal line here from where the image is repeated, and vertically if we go down, if we have more content. So that will be all for now. We'll try to work on making it this background image to be fixed on the right side of our image here as we go along with the next lesson. Okay, so this was a quite a long lesson, guys. Please bear with me. I just wanted to show you here some of the other ways on how we can build another website here besides from the project that we are working on. And as you can see, we were able to use the template that we built out of Microsoft Word resume template, and then we now have a website that is built out of that old idea, and now we have a new idea out of that old idea. We were able to create something new out of that old idea. Okay, so thank you guys and see you on our next lesson.